Don't tell me, Alana said. He expected someone bigger. Dane took the offered hand. Remembering her patient, she asked, "Can you help? I can't fix him at all." Anawa took the champion's elbow. "Alana's a healer and a sorceress. If she can't come up with something, no one can." "Aren't you going to be sorry if I can't?" the knight asked as Anawa steered her toward the ailing hawk. Dane unwound the bird from his wraps. "He won't eat anything but a little honey and water," she explained. "No meat or fish. And he's dizzy all the time." The purple eyes looked at her sharply. "How would you know that?" Dane met that gaze squarely. "I just do. I've a knack with animals," Anawa chorused along with her, and grinned. Alana lifted the bird with a care for the splinted wing. The hawk blinked, looked at her, and buried his head against her chest. "He knows me. Good." She carried him to a tent the warriors had set up, and went inside. "Wait here," Anawa told Dane. "Don't let these men bully Tahoe or the ponies." She followed the knight inside. Dane realized she ought to pick at the strings so the smaller horses wouldn't disturb the big ones. Tahoe stuck close to her as she worked, and Cloud was on her best behavior. The warriors smiled at her as they set up more tents and built cook fires. A handful went to the nearby river with fishing lines in their hands. She would have liked to go too, but she couldn't bring herself to ask these businesslike Tortallans. "Great merciful goddess!" The shout came from the tent where Alana and Anawa had taken the hawk. "Of all the gods cursed, simple-minded!" Dane gaped. The man the knight had called Hakim smiled. "The lioness has a temper," he told the girl. "Sometimes it gets the better of her." The knight stamped out of the tent. She had discarded mail for breeches and a white shirt. At her throat a red gem burned like a coal in the fire. "I can't see." Her purple eyes lit on Dane. "You girl, come here." Tahoe growled, bristling. He didn't like the knight's tone. Alana stared at the dog and then smiled. "I'm sorry. Dane, would you come here, please? I think I need your help." Steering the girl into the tent, she said, "Anawa says you found him under unusual conditions." The hawk lay on a man-sized cot, his eyes wide and frightened. "How?" There was something here that pounded on her ears, making her nervous. "Honest, your ladyship, Alana," was the firm interruption. The thought of calling the champion, the only lady knight in living memory, by her first name, and made her wince. "I listened for him is all. I sat down and just listened." "Would you do it for me now, please?" Dane swallowed. "But he's right there, lioness." "Turn your back to him if that helps." Alana fiddled with the red gem in her throat. "Listen for him exactly as you listened back then." "Listening's fine," Dane thought nervously. "You only listened before and had no trouble, and the badger said it was all right." "Well then." Closing her eyes, she emptied her mind, letting her breath slow until she couldn't hear it. She concentrated on her ears. Outside, Cloud chewed on a clump of grass, thinking she ought to check on Dane, alone with strangers. The gold warhorse shifted. He wanted to run some more. There! A strange and distant voice, one that sounded like no animal she knew. That had to be the hawk. Was he muttering to himself? "I hear him." That sleepy voice was hers. "He's a prisoner. He can't get out. But he's just on the bed." "Hush!" Purple fires played inside her eyelids. "Call him, Dane, with your mind. His name is Numar Salamin." "Alana, maybe Aram's better." That was Anawa sounding distant. "He's only been Numar for 8 years. He's been Aram his whole life." "True. Call to him as Aram, Dane." The fires evened into a steady purple light, warming her face like the sun. "Why call him?" The voice was gentle but firm. Dane sighed. "Aram Salamin. Aram, come on. You're too far off. It's all right, Aram. It's safe." Something behind her snapped, breaking her concentration. She opened her eyes as wooden sticks hit the tent wall in front of her. The hawk splints. "Now look at this," she scolded, picking them up. "His wing won't get any better that way." She turned to show them the evidence. The hawk was gone. Anawa pulled a sheet up to cover a large naked man. He smiled drowsily at the three of them. "Can I have something to eat?" Dane's jaw fell open. "Where did he come from?" Alana bent over the newcomer, peering into his eyes. Anawa grabbed the girl's elbow and steered her out of the tent. "Explanations later," the comer said. "There's a lot to be done for him still." "Anawa, where's my hawk? Where'd that man come from?" Her knees shook. Anawa put a hand on Dane's mouth. "Hush. No more questions. I'll explain everything. Later. She went back into the tent, pulling the flap tightly shut behind her. Later, Dane muttered to herself. Wonderful. Hawks disappearing, men appearing. Why not? Later. She stamped off to look after the ponies, who at least would tell her things and not wait for any laters.